Hey, what's up, guys? Just wanted to go over what I think would be the best Zane build. Honestly, the best one I've seen is from Admiral Baru. Uh, I'll leave his link in the description below. But this is kind of my take on what I think would be the potential other best build. Really depends on the class mods, and getting our hands on the game would be a lot easier to tell. So starting out, I believe the first five should be an adrenaline. Uh, to try to keep it short on the explanations, I can kind of be a little long-winded. Um, I think in between fights, when you're trying to get your action skill cooldowns lower, um, this will come in handy a lot more often than you would think. When you're actually fighting, you're gonna have infinite abilities, but this one's going to focus on the Hitman tree and the barrier tree. We have to utilize the calm, cool, and collected. So basically, every time Zane scores a critical hit, uh, the target will be frozen and slowed. But I'm thinking that the 5 points here increase movement speed, or well, when you're moving, increases your gun damage based on how fast you move. Then you got to put 5 points here. Every time you kill somebody, you move 20% faster. Basically, the whole point of that explanation was for this. If this does proc this skill here, then this build could work. I think the Hitman tree is going to be a lot better to level Zane with. It might be better in game to use Admiral Baru's build with the infinite digiclone. I'm not sure the effectiveness of the digiclone yet, so it's all dependent on how broken that is. He seems to think it's extremely broken, so we'll see. So pretty much it's gonna follow suit with that build. Put 3 points here. It doesn't really matter where you put your points, so I just have my preference. This one, especially for the damage resistance, just one more point here to get down to this tree. There's no reason not to have the shield capacity. Uh, Here, you're going to want to take this skill, definitely. Um, Activating any of your abilities, since we're going on the Hitman tree, will activate the kill skill, which will basically, or it'll make it where all elemental damage is converted to like just straight regular bullet damage. So you can't take any elemental damage for that matter, because every time you activate your action skill, since we're going down Hitman tree, it'll make more sense when I show you the skills. But we'll take that. I'm going to assume a lot of people have looked at the trees so far. If not, I'll show you later. Um, we'll just put 4 points into here. Maybe the Cryo Nova that goes off when you kill somebody will hopefully freeze them and proc this even more often. Um, so since we're going on Hitman, our damage is increased based on our movement speeds. So this skill definitely gotta have. I feel. Um, Damage may be better with this, but at least when you're playing solo, going through, you might get hit from all sides. I don't know. It depends on your positioning. I like the thought of the barrier. The downside of the barrier right now is the cooldown plus 20%, but with Calm, Cool, and Collected, you're going to have your action skills up 24/7. So for now, I like the idea of the barrier, but the other ones could be better. Um, that one as well could be better, but this is where I have it at right now. The final point really doesn't matter for that tree. Let me see. So here, like I already did earlier, you'll have your 5 points to increase your moving, or decrease damage while you're moving. Then every time you get a kill, which with this, all your kill skills are automatically activated when you activate an action skill, which we will be activating action skills quite often. So paired with that, you have 15-second kill skill duration. I'm fairly certain you'll be able to proc the freeze and get your reset, especially if you stay on the dome so you don't get hit as often. You can keep your shields and health up a lot easier. Um, so basically, I'm going to finish showing you the build. Put 4 points here, 1 point here. These 4 points increase reload speed, just shoot quicker, or more often rather. Fire rate. This skill I don't feel is worth it. Zane's next 5 shots all have a chance to fire an additional projectile. So this is when the kill skill first is procced. If you max it out, it's I believe 50%. Yeah, so it's 50% maxed out, and only the next 5 shots. So every time you shoot, only the first 5 shots really matter, and I don't feel like that's going to be worth it. So definitely the fire rate. Since you're going to have infinite action skills anyway, the duration is pretty useless. But the selling point on this skill is keeping your health full and your shields full, so that it'll proc the action skill cooldown and duration reset. So definitely putting points into this will help keep you topped off in health. Do I think you need 5 points in this? With the extra skill bonus added on, you'll have 15 seconds of 10% damage dealt. I believe 25%. Yeah. So 10% of the damage you deal once you get into later game, especially when this build will be more useful. The numbers you're dealing, 10% of 100,000 damage per shot. You kind of get the idea. It's going to be ridiculous. So I think I'll take the reload speed over that one. That unlocks the final one. We'll grab that. And you have 1 more point. And to be honest, since you're going to have both action skills up 24/7 anyway, I feel like synchronicity will be your best choice for your final point. And that's pretty much the build. This one, I'm not sure the effectiveness of this augment. If So basically, the Sentinel emits a static field and drains their shields and replenishes Zane's. If it replenishes his enough to make it worthwhile, that could be quite decent. If not, I mean, movement speed increase again is going to be straight damage increase based off of this skill alone. If you're already at 20% at default walk speed, plus another 11% from the green tree here, if it'll go to it, yeah. And on top of that, every time you get a kill, you get another 20% plus 25% on top of that. It's another 4% maybe, I believe. 5%. It's another 5%. Or is it 4%? I don't know. Whatever. 4 or 5%. Either way. So I don't know the effectiveness of taking this. If not, and it's not really as effective, I guess just go for the missile barrage. It all depends on what works the best. The other build is the one Baru did, but I have my own take on my preferences for that. He left it up to choice. So I'll show you what I think's the best. It's almost the exact same. If you don't feel like watching, I'll leave the link in the description for his video as well. Um, so this whole build here is the infinite digiclone build. Um, so there's not too many differences from his, but there's a few. So we'll do 5 points in synchronicity. You get just straight flat 40% gun damage increase. The next 5 will be in Donnybrook. Whenever you kill an enemy, Zane and his digiclone receive increased gun damage and gain health regeneration for a few seconds. The whole point of this build revolves around, or at least this tree revolves around this skill here. So you don't want to use your grenades in any way except for summoning your digiclone. So since my cat's tail is in front of the camera, come on, Zeus. Oh. Okay, so so whenever Zane and his clone swaps place, his shield immediately begins recharging. Come here, buddy. Oh, he's going to his box. Though that'll work well with the green tree as well. Getting the Calm, Cool, and Collected to proc. So the other 3 points, I'd recommend putting in a magazine size, just so we can get down to this tree. We don't have any other choice. These 2 are the ones you don't want to put a point in, so you have to put a point into this one. This one, you get grenade regeneration. It's a must-have for this. Every time that's summoned, it consumes up to 3 grenades, so we want as many grenades as we can have. The movement speed for each active action skill, it's just the best option we have. So we'll put 2 points in that for now. I'm just gonna double check. I'm pretty sure we're gonna put 3 into that. So boom enhance. When you summon your digiclone, it consumes it to 3 grenades, so you'll be doing 60% more damage, 81% times 3, 15% fire rate, 93% reload speed, 75% clone duration. I mean, honestly, this, even according to Baru, who got to actually play with it, I mean, this seems like the best build possible. I'm just giving you what I think is the most optimal out of that build. So we'll put a point here, and then the last choice we have is just 3 points into this. Zane deals bonus shock damage to enemies that aren't targeting him. So we'll go ahead and throw this on, put this in slot 1. This augment, enemies are more likely to target the clone. We'll throw that in slot 1. And then whenever the clone takes damage, Zane's shield is restored by a portion. So furthermore, same as Baru suggested as well. And then we'll put the 3rd point into this. Just there's nothing else better to do. This skill, it gives you a chance to ignore bullets, but we don't really need to ignore bullets. Just not gonna get hit, and if the clone does happen to die, we'll have another one ready almost simultaneously or immediately. So we'll go ahead and put a point into this. This will allow your clone to spawn with a copy of whatever gun is in Zane's hand. I can imagine this would get pretty ridiculous, especially late game. And then slot 2, we're going to go barrier. Shooting through the barrier gives you another 25% damage dealt. Now, in between fights, the way you get your action skills is by shooting enemies in the head with this skill. That skill slows them. Eventually, after getting crits on their face, it'll freeze them. When it freezes them, it procs this, right? So in between fights, if you're not shooting somebody in the head, you're looking at a 24-second cooldown, and you're looking at a 28-second cooldown. So say you have a decent walk in between. I feel that the best choice would be to put 5 points into this. 35% action skill cooldown rate. The more percent full your shield is, the greater the bonus, especially between fights. You'll be at full shield, obviously, so you'll get the guaranteed 35% faster. Um, so that way you don't have to get to the fight, shoot somebody in the head, and freeze them, then get it to proc. And if you got shot some in between that, then this won't proc the immediate action skill reset. It'll proc health regen. It'll proc the shield recharging, right? So this kind of just helps you keep the clone out even more than you normally do. Or normally would. I feel like that's the most optimal choice of the three. This will just increase your shield capacity. Maybe more points into that. I think I'll put one in it on this tree for one shots and maybe late game raids or something. You might get one shotted by the boss, but it's doubtful for right now. Um, until we get there and we need it, we'll put more points in it. But this one, you have to put 5 points. Like I was explaining earlier, you get your crit, slows them, it puts a stack on it, and then you keep shooting them in the face, and it keeps adding stacks, and eventually the target freezes, and it'll proc your calm, cool, collected. Um, we can go ahead and put a point into this. While Zane's shields are active, he gains increased gun damage and accuracy. Just basically a flat 20% increase on top of the 40% from the other tree. Um, and to get down to this tree, this skill here gives you a flat 16% damage resistance against the damage type you're taking damage from currently. When we pair it, see, we need to get one more point to go down. So shield recharge rate and stuff, we have so many things that instantly start recharging our shield. I don't feel like that's worth it. Gains health regeneration every time we kill an enemy. The Digiclone and Zane gain health regen, and I'm fairly certain there's a different health regen thing somewhere. If not, we might use this just to increase it even more. So I don't feel like that's worth it either. So we'll just go ahead and put it into shield capacity. Uh, the resistance to non-elemental damage. This one's gonna be very nice. When you kill an enemy, all elemental damage Zane takes is converted to non-elemental damage. So you get a 15% damage reduction to just any damage you take because all of it gets converted to just bullet damage. That's further increased by this. Another 16% added on to the bullet damage resistance. And then the best option we have here is 4 points into best served cold. And then we gotta put our 1 point into calm cool collected that brings the whole build together. Now we have 1 point left. This basically is so when we kill an enemy, they create a cryo nova. Fingers crossed that it freezes somebody and it procs this for us in a different way to have the freeze proc other than getting headshots. Because if we, I mean, this whole build's kind of relying on you being able to get headshots. So you have to get the headshots to stack the slows that'll eventually freeze them. That's pretty much the build. The final point I feel like would be best here. Zane's gun damage is increased while moving. The quicker he moves, the greater the gun damage bonus. Is it enough to really warrant getting it? There's not really a better option elsewhere. That's the thing. Like increased accuracy and handling, don't need it. Whenever Zane damages are frozen, he gains some of his health back, don't need it. I mean, generally you're not gonna take elemental damage period anyway. As long as you're killing at least one person between you and your clone, I'm fairly certain your clone will activate your kill skills for you as well. These two skills neither as well. So I feel like the best option is that. So on to the augments. This is where it's kind of up in the air for me. Um, if you put that on, it gives you another 11% movement speed and 20% reload speed. So we don't get the reload speed that I like from this tree, but we do get the gun damage increase by a minimum 4% right now. Maybe with a class mod or something, we can boost this higher, right? Uh, but for now, I think the charged relay, which is what this one is, would work best with this build. The extra 11% movement speed won't really be a giant amount of damage increase on top of this, but it'll be more than what we have in any other option we can choose. So it's just the best option we have left. It's the most optimal for now. And then the final one, I'm kind of torn in the final one. Um, if the clone shoots through the barrier, does he get the 25% damage increase? That's the question. If he does, I feel like the dome would be the better choice. So you drop the dome, it covers all sides, right? I'm assuming it's going to be, as it implies, a dome, a circle. It covers 360 degrees and your head and everything else. There's no way to shoot through it, right? The only way to get in is melee type enemies to run into the shield. Um, so if your digiclone gets increased damage shooting through the barrier, it would be an extra 25% damage on top of the already 60% damage he's going to get for spawning with boom enhance plus another 15% from this. It's going to get to pretty absurd numbers. I don't know if his gun damage scales off of Zane's in any way when Zane has these other abilities. Probably not. If it did, it'd be even more ridiculous. Um, so if the clone shoots through this and gets the damage increase, this is definitely the best that you could choose. You put the all around dome on. You don't have to worry about the clone dying as much because he's going to be inside of the barrier. So he's going to be inside the barrier shooting out of it. He can shoot any of the enemies around him in a circle will always go through the barrier. Enemies above him will always go through the barrier. Basically, he'll get a guaranteed 24% damage increase, period. Uh, if that's how it works. If not, I still really like the barrier. Um, or the dome, excuse me. I still really like the dome. The downside of the dome, like I said earlier, was the 20% cooldown increase, but with Comco Collected, we have infinite cooldown, so it doesn't the 20% is non-existent, doesn't matter. Um, so that's my uh, best two builds for Zane. Honestly, don't think you can really build a better one for him late game. It seems like both of these builds late game revolve around calm, cool, and collected. Being able to keep both your action skills out 24/7 seem to be the most optimal builds that I can find right now. I think Hitman will be the best leveling up. And then when you hit 50, which is max, probably swap to this or the Hitman Infinite build as well. The first one I showed off. But yeah, hopefully the barrier, the dome, increases the Digiclone's damage output when he shoots through it too, which would make this augment the best, guaranteed. You might could swap out this one but I feel like we need the reload speed increase. Um, so those are my two builds. Thanks for watching. Leave a like in the and follow, please. um, but yeah, I'm gonna release more Borderlands 3 content and in the future, and thanks for watching.